Hi there, Jerome Green here from Atdec for DAS, showing the single post, quad and penta setup. This has been requested as an alternative to a two-post quad and penta setup using 4 or 5 24-inch monitors. We've set it up on the 750mm post using 4, if not 5 spring-assisted or dynamic monitor arms for ease of height adjustment and movement. One of the first things to notice about this, and we talk about pros and cons of the single versus the dual. The single, you can see one fixing point, one post. It's going to be faster to install, etc. One may even argue it's neater in that you're only looking at one post potentially. However, Atdec's recommendation is still that 2 posts be seriously considered, because 2 posts is more robust, holding 5 screens, and 2 posts gives you more flexibility in regards to how you position your monitors. The other issue at the moment is that DAS, the project we're working on with DAS, the talk is that the desk is 1.2 meters wide. However, this setup is really at that boundary. Number one, you can see that the elbows on one side do poke out from the sides of the monitors, and if you look at this width here, from the edge of that elbow to the edge of this monitor, it actually is just over 1.2, unless of course that you employ, which is most likely what will happen, what we call cockpit, whereby you get a nice angle, etc., as opposed to having these perfectly flat. So if there's some cockpit and they're brought somewhat forward, then you will just bring it within 1.2 meters. However, you don't have a lot of flexibility. Using 2 posts, you eliminate the elbows and you can get it well within the 1.2 meters. You can also see that there's always going to be a tiny bit of lean in the post since you've got so much weight hanging on one side. It's perfectly stable structurally. That little bit of lean may not be exactly what the end user ideally likes. It's almost imperceptible. So you can also see here that these arms have been set up in what's called the offset position. In other words, if you're sitting in the middle of the desk facing the middle of the monitors, it's set up, the post is set up to one side. For very good reason. This ensures that you get the maximum focal distance. In other words, you can push those monitors away from your face as much as they'll go. And this is on the basis that there is a desk behind this desk, and you simply, and I can ask my camera person to zoom in somewhat, that you are simply unable to push that elbow back. That once you get past the back of the desk, you are intruding on your colleague's airspace, and in fact you may be bumping their monitor arm. You can see here that the Atdec arm allows the elbow to swing all the way back if you wish, or you engage the rotation limitation accessory inside this channel clamp, which stops the arm swinging back. It gives you a hard stop to ensure that this arm does not protrude behind the desk. If you had the post set up in the middle of the desk, in other words not offset, and you had to limit the rotation of the arm, what you would find is that, in other words, if you did this, to get the screen's bezel to bezel, if you couldn't have the elbows go past, you would see that the screens are simply too close to your desk. Sure, if you can use that space effectively, you can do that. If you can have the elbows go back, but we imagine that's not going to be possible. So the only way you can do it, and that same applies to any monitor arm setup, regardless of the manufacturer, you've got to have it offset. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I just wanted to explain why, in fact, we use the teenage verbiage, the dab. You can see here that we're using the Atdec accessory called the slider, and that allows you additional flexibility, because if you didn't have a slider, these monitors would be more like that, and you would see that, lo and behold, when you push them back, you have a gap, and to close that gap, you simply slide the monitors. That gap can be reduced or minimised by using cockpit and bringing them forward, of course, but if you wish to have that maximum focal distance, then you don't get that option, because someone might consider them to be too close to your face. So push them all the way back and close the gap. Cockpit is very important, and of course you can achieve cockpit with this setup to get that nice angled look with your monitors. We've also got the 5th monitor arm and monitor at the top that also requires a slider. These are the sliders shown in black. These don't require sliders, and that allows you to position that 5th monitor above the right hand side bank or the left hand side bank simply by swinging the arm left to right and sliding it across. And that is the end of the presentation, showing the single post, quad and penta setup. Thank you for your attention.